But thank you so much, Woz. We're joined by our friend Wosny Lambre here on Left Reckoning. I'm really thrilled to have you joining us today.
Hey man, it's a pleasure. Whenever I heard you guys were starting this, I was very happy because I know how serious you guys take the work. And I believe in you guys as voices, as talents in our little movement. you know, so so it makes me happy to see you guys start this and being successful so early, hitting the ground running. And obviously, I'm proud that you guys were called me to ask me to come on because you know how I feel about you guys. So
Oh yeah,
I'm happy to be here, man.
I have to return the favor. Woz is, I think, my favorite podcaster. I'd often think of. I probably have listened to Woz talk about basketball more than I've actually watched basketball. We'll get to to hear him, a guy that I remember, doing Two Dope Boys with Michael and Phil back in the day. To hear how much like David Aldridge laugh. Like the OG of NBA reporting is one of my favorite, most gratifying relationships I have, I think, through you. So I love your stuff. And, the glue guy, whether it's Zach Harper or David Aldridge, I think Woz brings a podcast together. So,
you know what's so funny about that is I see that as my job, right? Especially in in certain spaces, like when I got asked if I wanted to do a podcast with DA, I was like, are you out of your mind? Of course I do, right? And DA is like, if you've been an NBA fan at all over the past 3 decades, you're very familiar with his work. You know he's like a really dignified, professional cat, right? So I just said it's my job to bring the hijinks because DA is a real professional. Like this guy he's the truth, and not that he doesn't have a sense of humor or anything like that, but he's been broadcasting for decades. He's actually in the freaking Basketball Hall of Fame. So yeah, it is my job to go on there and sort of be a goofball and, get Iron Eagle to laugh at dick jokes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of thing that I feel like it's my job to do on that show.
Yeah, well, before we get to more basketball, which I'm excited to do, secretly I would just rather be a basketball podcaster. But David, you want to update us on some more shenanigans out of Alabama that just broke in the last interview?
Yeah, I'm sorry to break format here, but we just got some kind of breaking news that this fight is really important and it's happening right now. We won't have a chance till next week. Just some things that have broken. This first tweet, if you could just pull up, Matt. We've talked about this a lot, how Amazon is trying to interfere with the union election. More Perfect Union has actually, revealed that they went and they spoke with the Postmaster General in Bessemer, who was refusing to give them any information about this mysterious post box that showed up on the Amazon facility, right? And people are mailing in their ballots. So this is a serious question of them tampering with people's ballots. They put it in there from direct order, essentially from Amazon, even though the National Labor Relations Board said they are not allowed to do that. Right. So this is just one example of how they're tampering. And if we want to go to the second tweet, because this is the one, like that's screwy and very dangerous, and it makes you worried about the integrity of that election. I'm serious, right? But this is the one that gets very frightening, which is, this is coming from More Perfect Union, again, highlighted by Kim Kelly, and which is that Amazon has been paying police officers in Bessemer to do off-duty security, right? The police, we all know, fuck the police, that, the whole thing. But the police, ostensibly are not supposed to be just guns for hire for private corporations. That line has very seriously been crossed. And if we could just play, the first minute of this video, I think it'd be worthwhile.
They in prison.
When you are going to work every day with a heavy police presence, I think it absolutely levels this fear of what could happen.
Again, it shows the way in which the anti-union forces get all involved with local political forces.
The Bessemer police officers have been here on scene since day one. We feel like we've been harassed. We had cops tell us that we couldn't step off the sidewalk.
When we're on the gates the police ride around to our checkpoints.
I mean, they're in the parking lot at all times. From the second you pull up.
That's good.
Jesus.
Yeah. And again, I think everybody watching this knows how serious that is. But a union election should be something that's free from intimidation. We already talked about the intimidation that the company is doing, in the workplace. We already know about the intimidation that Amazon workers face for the fact that they have to pee in bottles because they're afraid of getting in trouble. But also basically using, an armed force around to harass and intimidate people. It's a very serious question about democracy.
Yeah, overtime the police, I guess.
It's crazy because obviously on our show on Woke Bros, we've been monitoring the Bessemer situation pretty closely because everybody kind of understands what the stakes are with Amazon being a company that employs, I think they might be in the millions by now worldwide. And so, a unionization drive here in America would mean a lot. It'd be devastating for them anyway. It'd be obviously a great win for the workers, but it'd be devastating for them. So it's not surprising that they would deploy these tactics because, a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of times in mainstream media, the perception that we've gotten of organized labor is like, oh, they're mobbed up, they're criminal, it's corrupt, and yada, 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 yada. Well, the reason why the mob got involved in union business is because the bosses used to actually hire their own goons to bust skulls.
Right.
They had to level the freaking playing field. The only way that they could do that was to hire their own goons and thugs to protect themselves. But trust me, it was freaking capital who started this, man. And this is no different from traditionally what they would do. It's just all intimidation tactics. Luckily, back in the days, like people actually died for the right for, a 5-day work week, 8-hour work day, vacation days, sick leave, like anti-child labor laws, or like people literally died because the bosses would rather intimidate people than just do the right thing and give people their fair share as far as the wages and, having dignified work conditions. Like we're not even talking about anything like ridiculous. We're just talking about the bare necessities here from the richest company in the world.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy too. I don't know. Have you heard about this stoplight thing that they did? So basically, like there's a stoplight that goes into the facility and, pro-union organizers were hanging out there when people came into work. It's like, hey, join the union, pretty simple, just like democracy stuff. They actually got, I can't remember, our friends at Valley Labor Report have set me straight on this, but I can't remember if it was the city or the county, but they got the government to come in and change the time on the stoplight so that it was only like a 10-second stoplight or something like that, so nobody could be spoken to. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of influence that Amazon has. But the cool thing about it, and one thing that's really been like giving me a lot of hope, is how widespread like the solidarity actually for the union has been. It's like international, people who are super lefty plugged in like us to like, the NFL Players Association union was like coming out and, solidarity with them. Like it's a really incredible moment to see that as well.